Hello and welcome everybody, and I'm really pleased to be introducing a sleep expert for babies and toddlers, although Lisa, I'm sure that you do go older as well. So welcome Lisa Lamb, who is, I don't know, would I say commonly known as the Night Ninja, which I think is a great name.
Thanks.
But before I ask Lisa to introduce herself, what I'd like to do is just to quickly do a shout out to Child's Farm, who once again have very kindly supporting us in this webinar, and actually also they're supporting us with our sleep patient support program and our children's eczema support program. So please do go and have a look at that. And what's so great about Child's Farm is they're very generous, and there's a lot of giveaways always going on, so do keep an eye open for those. Anyway, so Child's Farm, as you may well all be aware, has a full range of skincare and also is looking at sleep and the best way to support parents. I think they call it their slumber time range, in supporting parents in getting their young ones to go to sleep. They've got a 3-step routine which is available in Boots and all your standard places and Amazon to go and buy. So do have a look. We do have information on our website as well. So highly recommend, and I know that Lisa highly recommends it as well. But having said that, let's actually get down to the practicality of how we make our kids sleep, or how they have a good sleep. But Lisa, would you like to just introduce yourself and say, how did you get the title Night Ninja? Where did it all start from?
Hi, I'm Lisa, known as the Night Ninja, and it started about 6.5 years ago. I actually got interested in sleep with my first daughter, who is now 8.5. So I did a course, and then I started helping friends and family. But then when I had my second, who was 6 months, and when Scarlett was 2 months, 2 years, I then decided to I'm going to do this, full time. So I went all the way to America to do my training, and then I know. And then, but since then, I've done so many more courses. And yes, over the last 6.5 years now, I've been doing this full time, and I absolutely love it. My practice has changed from when I first started to where I am now. And now I do believe that I can help every parent, no matter what your parenting style is. It's all about making you feeling confident, for you becoming your baby's sleep expert, and also, learning about your baby sleep. Every family is different, and every baby is different. So that's how I'm here today.
It's interesting that you say that in those years, you said your practice has changed. Is that your practice in how you practice, how you change? Is that because you've understood more now on what you think is better, or people's thoughts on sleep patterns have changed?
I just, the sleep world, there's lots of different, different debates about, how you get a baby to sleep, what, method you should use, like what's the right, what's the wrong answer. And so being part of this, I really wanted to make sure that I had done every, sleep course out there, to then make sure that when I was doing my practice, that I felt comfortable with what I was asking my parents to, what they needed to change and what they wanted to do. So it's just kind of like change, just the whole practice, the sleep method that I use. When I first started, we would change everything at once, whereas now I do it in stages. So we look at the whole bigger picture, where the parents want to get to, and we make slow changes. And once that's kind of done, then we move on to the next one, so it doesn't feel so overwhelming for the baby and for the family.
And also that does mean, doesn't it, it beds down in for really good practice, as opposed to wham bam, your baby should be sleeping, because it doesn't quite work like that, does it?
Yeah, exactly. And I think before I became a sleep consultant, I did have that belief that, there's no reason, every baby should sleep through the night. But now, I've been doing this for 6.5 years, and all the families, that I've worked with, it's like some babies do need to wake up in the night for, for a comfort, for a cuddle, for a feed. But it's getting that balance and getting it to where it is manageable. I think that's the most important thing. Yes, babies do wake up in the nighttime, but they shouldn't be waking up every hour. Every baby at different stages, wake up at different times, and understanding where your baby expectedly should be, just helps parents then to be like, oh, okay, do you know what, my baby's actually doing amazing.
So I know one of the sort of the bedrocks is, okay, let's establish a routine. So how would you go about establishing a routine? How do you know what's the best routine?
Yeah. So how I help my clients to learn how to get into a routine, it's all about following your baby's natural signs. So when are they looking? When do they start showing that they're starting to feel tired? Like, are they rubbing their eyes? Are they disengaging? Are they starting to get a little bit upset? And also working out how long your baby can stay awake from like when they wake up in the morning to their first nap. So all them two together is what's going to help you then get your baby into their own natural routine. Again, every baby can stay awake differently. As some babies, as the day goes on, can stay awake longer. So it's really about getting in tune and really starting to notice your baby's sleep cues and how long they can stay awake. And that's what's going to really help your baby then to get into their own natural routine.
So where do you start? Do you start off with, because I know we spoke about, you start off with morning routines. There's sort of morning routines, midday routines, and then obviously the major night routine. How does that all work?
Yeah, so my first advice really, if we take anything away from today, is like, look at your morning routine. Are you waking your baby up at the same time every day, or are they waking up at different times? And if you start waking your baby up at the same time every day, this is going to help them to get into a morning routine, which will then lead on nicely to that first morning nap. That first morning nap will start to come at the same time every day if you're waking your baby up at the same time in the morning time. If they're waking up at different times, you're then second guessing when that first nap can be, and then your baby's also body clock is a bit like confused of when it wants that first sleep. By setting up that morning wake up in the morning, that first nap should go down really nicely, and your baby will then be craving that nap at that time, because that's when it's naturally wanting to go to sleep. And that's the same then throughout the day. It then, obviously, like, babies have different lengths of nap, so obviously we can't never guarantee that your baby's going to have like an hour nap for that first nap. So if he does have like an hour, then you just then will be like, I don't know, say your baby's 6 months old, then your baby might, about 2.5, 3 hours, then need another nap. So then you would then, plan that next nap and then onto bedtime. And once the baby, I would say about between 6 to 9 months, is when you will really kind of get like a real good schedule for your baby, that first nap will be roughly around the same time every day, and that second nap will be roughly around the same time every day. And then that bedtime, again, really setting up that bedtime routine, choosing the time that you would like your baby to go to bed. Try to stick to that as best as you can, but making sure your baby's not too tired. And then I always say, like, if naps haven't been great that day, bedtime can always come forward. I think people think that if they're having this 7 o'clock bedtime, that their baby, no matter what happens during the daytime, needs to stick to that 7 bedtime, and that's when you're going to get an overtired baby, especially if naps haven't been great that day. So remember, everything is adjustable, and I think that's one of the things I wish I knew with my first, that I didn't know things could move. I thought that I had to stick to the times, and so my first one, she adapted really well, and it wasn't so stressful. But with my second, that just wouldn't have never have worked for her. She's just not that character. So yeah, I just wish on my first I knew that things could be moved and could be adjustable.
And I think that's what you said is really important. With your second one, it wasn't the same. And that's where maybe for people, they find the first one, they've got it sorted, and the second one comes and it's a completely different child. And I think everybody knows that when they have their second child, you go, oh my God, they are not the same.
No.
They are not. How are they not the same? And they're not. And it's that, not to panic, that it's a different routine that you can have, and that's fine.
Yeah. And then with my second, I just followed, because I was training to become a sleep consultant then, so I just knew and especially with my third, I was just so much more relaxed. My mindset was so different. If she had half an hour nap, it didn't matter. She would have another nap, so I wasn't so stressed out about it. And I think that's what I really tried to get out to my parents, that every day can be different. Our little ones are inconsistent, but if we stay consistent with that routine, that their sleep will just get better. And every baby is different, which I think is really important. But I think also with your first, you have so much more time. You've got time to put a routine in place. With your second, you've got a toddler now who wants to get out and about, and you maybe can't concentrate on that routine as much as you could with your first. So that's also a bit of a game changer when you get more children.
And I think you suddenly realise when you've got the second one as well, that actually it's not the end of the world for anything. It's all fine, isn't it?
Yeah.
And as you said, you don't have the capacity. So, nighttime is obviously one of the biggies, because we're all aiming to hopefully get the child as soon as possible to be able to go through the night. What would you suggest is the best routine for that nighttime?
Okay, so one thing that I really help with my clients when we first get going is really, really working on that routine, getting that morning routine, working on them naps, getting them naps to like a decent kind of length. So what we would do for the naps, so really a lot of work on to do with the naps. Naps have a big link to your nighttime sleep.
Okay.
So really understanding and trying to get your baby's naps, the best they can. So things like, you know, problems that people have a lot is the length of naps. So, if your baby, say you put your baby down at 9, it wakes up half an hour later, I always recommend try and extend that nap however you can. Rock your baby back to sleep, feed your baby back to sleep. Just try and extend that nap until they get a bit older and they start, linking the sleep cycles together. So just like pay a little bit of attention to your baby's naps and try to get them the best that you can throughout the day. And then just making sure the awake windows, are right for your baby, that they're not, staying awake for too long, because overtiredness, causes lots of nighttime wake ups. And if they're undertired, if the sleep pressure hasn't been built up enough and they're undertired, then they're also gonna wake up in the nighttime. And getting that bedtime routine, that's kind of like this, work on like the sleep hygiene first, like the environment that they're sleeping in, morning routine, daytime routine, and bedtime. That's like the biggest thing that I would recommend people to work on first. Then if their babies are still waking up in the nighttime, and then you need to kind of think, what is happening in the nighttime? What are you doing? What is your baby wanting and needing in the nighttime? How often are they waking up? If you've got a 10-month-old baby who's waking up twice in the night, having 2 feeds, normal, sleep. If you've got a 10-month-old baby who's waking up every hour and wanting their feed, then we need to maybe think about, what's going on here? What can we do different? Is your baby hungry every time they wake up? Are they just using it for comfort? And it's fine if they are using it for comfort and you're happy to do that. But if you want to change it, you can. So then you can maybe start thinking about, okay, maybe when my baby does wake up for the first time, I put my baby down at 8, my baby then wakes up at 10. What can I do differently to help my baby get back to sleep? So it's just about putting in a different strategy rather than the one that you're using all the time. And that will just really just help you understand actually what your baby needs in the nighttime as well, and what you need to change. And it could just be that. It just could be on that first wake up, you make a change just on that first wake up, and then the rest of the wake ups you continue doing what you was doing. So you can do it really slowly. And you can do it really fast. All depends. Like some of my clients want to come in and they want to change things quite rapidly, and some clients want to take it really, really slowly.
So, I mean, going back to that routine, I mean, I was going to say we all know, but I kind of assume that we all know, and obviously assumption is never a good thing, is it that thing is like you feed your baby? Is there a time for when you fed your baby before you then start thinking about having a bath or all of those sort of things? Is that important to think about?
What, for the bedtime routine?
Yeah.
So I always say, depending what time your baby's going down, start the bedtime routine about half an hour beforehand. Obviously for newborn babies, it's a little bit different. Their bedtime routine doesn't need to be as long because their feed's going to be quite long. But for older babies, about half an hour. So, either feed before the bath or feed after the bath, however you want to do it. I normally say choose 3 to 4 things. A bit like how the Child's Farm, what they recommend, a nice bath, a massage, feed, and then in sleep. And then as they get older, you can introduce a story as well, but just keep it really, really simple. A bedtime routine, it's definitely one of the things that families that I talk to, if they haven't got it's the first thing I get them to implement, because it's such a nice time. Your baby it's so busy during the daytime, like for your babies, and especially for toddlers and older children, it's all crazy, everything's going on, and this is the nice time, half an hour, where you can all wind down. They've got your attention, they've got that love, they've got that that loving feeling, and this is also what's going to help them to fall asleep nicely, having that connection with their loved one.
And I think, exactly. And I think it's really nice for whoever is giving them, whether, the main, if I say the main carer, is the fact is that that's your time to bond with the child and to cement the trust and the relationship, and they feel safe and they're nurtured. And I remember when I had babies, I felt the only time that I could have that was either during bath time or when I was feeding it. And I was thinking, because nobody else can do it like me. And it was the only time that I didn't feel guilty spending, because you're as a young mother, you're always ridden with guilt about something or other. Or I was, and I think a lot of mothers are, because you're not sure if you're getting it right or not. So, and also what we is about time. Is there a specific? I know that, and you're great, because I'm from years ago, it's like your child has to do this at 5:30. Your child has to do this at 6 o'clock. You clearly have got away from that. Is it Dr. Spock, I think, or whatever it was called? In fact, that was before my time, but I know that was all about potty training and was just a nightmare, or feeding. Is that any particular golden hour you think is, or just to be very mindful of the time?
Yeah, I think just be really mindful. I think, newborn babies do go to bed a lot later. And then as they become older, bedtime does become early. Like I would say, from about 4, 5, 6 months upwards, bedtime anywhere between 6 to 8. But again, this is really adaptable to your family. I have families that come to me saying that they want bedtime to be at 9 and they wake up at 9 because that's how it works for them. So it can all it is really down to that to your family. Like I always ask, my family, like, what time would you like your baby to go to bed? And then we work backwards from that. So then we'd be like, okay, so, your baby then needs to make sure that all naps are finished by this time to kind of aim for bedtime to be this. And then you can work backwards and then work out what time your baby needs to wake up in the morning to make sure you get all them naps throughout the daytime to get bedtime. So yeah, so work backwards of what time you would like your baby to go to bed. But there's no right or wrong answer.
No.
Bedtime is really down to the family.
Yeah. And then obviously the next thing is talking about nighttime wakes, which you've kind of mentioned. So I suppose one of the first, the other thing is, do people sleep with their children or not? And what's your thoughts on that? Because I know that when I had my babies, they were in another room and that was it. But now people apart from, when you first take them home from hospital or wherever, they stay with you for the first couple of weeks. But thereafter, what do you feel about that? Or do you have any advice?
Yeah, so again, I don't think there's no right or wrong answer. Like if it's working for you, amazing. Like there's no, the Lullaby Trust have got it on their website of how you do it safely. So I think if you are co-sleeping, just making sure that you're doing it really safely. And as I said, the Lullaby Trust is amazing website to use. So I send all my clients to there, who want to co-sleep. It gives you lots of information. But yeah, it's no right or wrong answer. Like if you want to co-sleep, then make sure you're doing it safely. And then, a lot of families then get to a point, some families I was speaking to someone the other day, they're co-sleeping, it wasn't something they wanted to do, and it's now something they don't want to do anymore. It's also okay to change that. I think, it's also important to know that when you've had enough of it or it's not working anymore, you can change. But again, there's no right or wrong answer of where you want your baby to sleep, just as long as you are following the safe guidelines. That's the only thing that I would really emphasize.
Yeah. Okay. We did. I know I mentioned nighttime sleep, so nighttime wakes. So yes. So moving on from that, with the nighttime wakes, they wake up. You just work out whether it's feeding they need or the comfort.
Yeah. Yeah, so look, some babies wake up for all different reasons, and not always waking up because they're feeding. I would say majority of the families that I work with are feeding in the night time. So then I put a plan together to help my families to try to reduce that. But as I said, the night time is really linked to the daytime, so really working on that routine first, ticking the boxes for for all of that. And once you kind of got that sorted, and then your baby is still waking up in the night time, then that's when you need to start investigating, okay, what is going on, what's happening, what is my baby wanting, are you running in every hour to put the dummy in, are you running in every hour to rock them back to sleep, are you running in, what is it that you're doing that your baby needs for you to go back to sleep? And then you need to think about a different strategy.
And then as children, I suppose it's that transition bit as well. As they get older, you probably think you've got it all sorted out, and then they're 2 months later, you put it all sorted out, and of course they're 2 months older and things change again, don't they?
Yeah, they do. It really doesn't get settled until I'd say about 7, 8, 9 months, when they move on to 2 naps, and then that's pretty solid up until 15 to 18 months. That routine is pretty solid for however many months that is, but for quite a while. But yeah, before that it can be really, really up and down. But yeah, at 9, 10 months there's separation anxiety, so then you're dealing with that, or there's development milestones that they're doing, so they're starting to crawl, they're starting to talk, and they end up practicing all this in the cot, and then obviously they wake themselves up, they've been crawling for half an hour, then they can't get themselves back to sleep, so then you have to go in and help them. So there's all these kind of things. But I always just say to my clients, just think about, if your baby has been sleeping through and all of a sudden has woken up, again, work out what it is that they're waking up for, and just be mindful of how you're responding.
No, I just, the more you think about it, more of a bit of a mindful it can turn out to be, really, isn't it?
Yeah, it really is. And I think this is why I really try, whenever, anything I do, I just try to simplify it, because there can be so much information out there that, especially if you are a tired mum or a dad who's, waking up lots in the night time, it can be a bit overbearing. So that's why, getting that routine and then seeing what's happening in the night time, then working it out. And just making some small changes.
And
Sometimes I say to my clients, like maybe who are feeding like, 5 to 6 times in the night time, okay, on that first wake up, stay with your baby and try and settle your baby in the cot. Try for however long you feel comfortable with. If not, then feed. Try again the next night. Go in, try to settle in the cot. If not, then feed. So just giving them something to kind of like work on first, and then just, slowly, doing that with all the wake ups, then the nighttime should definitely get better.
And do you encourage people when, when they're, that when there is a couple of main carers, do you encourage them to share, I was going to say the burden, but not meaning burden in a negative way, but the burden of care in the night? Do you encourage people to share that between them?
Yeah, definitely. Especially if mum is feeding, it does, the baby does become reliant a lot on mum, and it ends up not because the dads do want to be like, most of the families I work with, the dads really want to help, but they can't, because if it is a feeding association. So yeah, I definitely do get the dads involved, and the mums involved, pretty quickly, get both parents involved. Yeah, because they all want to be part of it. They want to be part of that like bedtime journey and stuff.
How do you think that, because, we haven't spoken about all the obvious reasons as to why sleep is so important for, growth, development, mentally, physically, and all those things. How important do you think that is, that if you can sort it out younger, that might reflect on children as they get older? Do you think, if you can establish it correctly for them when they're younger, do you think that really does help for them as they get older?
Yeah, I think I do think it definitely does. Just like from my own personal opinion, I do think it does. But then there can be changes. Like, I can help families, from a young age, and then I get a phone call. Then as soon as they've moved them into the bed, it's all changed again, because it's a different kind of practice once they get
The bed, the
then
bed.
they can then now get out and run around. So it's a different ball game. Then it becomes more of like, just a behavioral thing with the parents. So it did, I've got 3 children. Definitely as they're getting older, it's getting more difficult. They're not wanting to go to bed. Like, I definitely preferred it when they were like, 0, 1 and 3. I could literally get them into bed, and by 7 I know they'd be asleep. But it does, like, especially like my 4-year-old, like, she will ask to go to bed. It's such, in my house, sleep has been such a positive thing and such an easy thing that when they feel tired, they do go to bed, and they know it's good for them. So I do think, especially as the children get older and become teenagers, and they don't want to go to sleep, I think if you implement it from such a young age, I do personally think there's different challenges, but it does create a positive mindset towards it.
And then going back to, from, I think it's probably from 1.5, when people start thinking about potty training. I can't even remember. When do you start potty training?
Oh God, mine were all pretty late. I think anything between like 2, 3, 3.5.
Oh, really? Because I was just, So I was determined to get my daughter sorted out before her brother, who's exactly 2 years, that sorted out. So I wasn't buying 2 sets of nappies. I remember that. I think I was lucky that I had a girl first. But does that also then reflect on children waking up in the night, do you think? Is there a correlation between sleep and trying to potty train and all of those things?
Yeah, definitely for the older children, I would say yes. But with nighttime, like, training for going to the toilet, it is a little bit different. Research, I'm obviously not a potty expert, but from what I've read just from my own personal with my children, that nighttime is a natural thing that comes naturally, because it's actually about their bladder holding it. All 3 of my children went dry at different ages. Like, my eldest was really, really old. In the end, I had to say to her, there's no nappies out there anymore, that was big enough. But yeah, it can definitely implement, especially as they get older. Waking in the night and wanting to go to the toilet, and again, it can be a tactic as well for some, for some clever 3-year-olds. They'll use it to get out of bed in the night time.
And I wonder, it's funny, isn't it? I wonder when it make people start thinking about sleeping, when they've got babies, and then it suddenly, then reflects on themselves, for them to start thinking about their own personal sleep hygiene when they go to sleep. And I think maybe as a young mother, you just think, oh God, as soon as I can sleep, I sleep. You don't worry about it. But it is interesting, isn't it? Because I can't remember that we ever used to think so much about sleep now as we do now. And sleep's through every age, isn't it? It's really important at every age.
Yeah, no, definitely. I definitely, this is one thing I do work with my parents, especially if they're, struggling with early wake ups with their babies, and I recommend them to go to bed a little bit earlier rather than staying up. So definitely thinking about what your sleep looks like. I actually have been using the slumber time products for myself. I literally had a bath this morning, and it was lovely, and I love using them products. But so just thinking about your own little spa that you have before going to bed, have that bath, have that shower, get into bed, do some writing, and then wind down for the night.
And also, all of that reflects onto your baby, because your own emotions absolutely can transfer. If you're feeling anxious or concerned about it, that just goes straight through to your baby quite often, doesn't it?
Yeah, it can do. So you need to, you do have to try to be really, really relaxed around your baby, especially around sleep. And it's really common and easy for parents to get really anxious about their baby, especially when they've been through, they're in a sleep crisis and it's all they can think about. It's really hard to change your mindset. But I think it's a really important thing. It's a lot of things I do with my clients is get them to, if their baby's had a bad nap, it's like, oh no, now it's going to affect their nighttime. It's like, well, hold on a minute, they've had a bad nap, but let's get another nap in, or let's bring things forward and everything will be okay. So rather than them getting into like a negative headspace, just try and turn it into a positive, and that everything will be okay. But it's like our own sleep. If you constantly saying to yourself, I'm a bad sleeper, I'm going to have a bad sleep tonight, you're going to have a bad sleep. Whereas if you get into bed and be like, well, I've done my bedtime, I've done my bedtime routine, I feel relaxed, tonight's going to be a good night, you'll probably end up going to have a better night. I did like an adults course, and one of the things is that as adults we always say, I'm tired. I say it all the time, but what I try to do now when I do say it is actually think before I say it, and actually, am I tired, or am I hungry, or what is it that I need? And it's not always that you're tired. It might just be, actually I haven't eaten today and I need to go and have some food, or I haven't had a glass of water. So just really kind of like changing the narrative as much as you can. Which I know is tough when you've got a newborn baby and you're waking up lots, or even with an older baby, you've had 10 months and this baby hasn't slept, it can be really, really tough.
Absolutely. Just sort of to finish up really, is what are the most common questions that you get asked?
So common questions are about baths. So do you think baths are important for little one's sleep? And that's something that I definitely do think it's such a great association. A bath is so different to anything that's happened throughout the day. It also helps to cool their body temperature when they get out of the bath. So is a bath important? I think yes. I know some parents are a bit reluctant to bath every night, and I think that's absolutely fine. But if you are having a baby who isn't sleeping so well, I would definitely suggest introducing a bath for now, and then once baby's sleeping well, then you can maybe think about doing it every other night. And then another one is about holidays, going away and breaking the sleep sleep routine. And I think everything can be adaptable. And I traveled loads with my kids, I traveled loads when they were younger, and as soon as I got to wherever we got to, I got them into their sleep routine really, really quickly. Especially if you're going long haul and the time difference, just get them into that time zone really, really, really quickly. And just again, you've got to be respectable for your little ones when you're on holiday. Holiday is a little bit different when you have children, and you just got to go with that kind of mindset. If you want to go out for a late dinner one evening, that's fine, but then the next evening I would kind of like try and be home then for the bedtime. So just be really mindful of like making sure that you're getting your baby's sleep as much as they can on holiday. And then naps I always get asked, are naps important for nighttime sleep? And I think I've really emphasized on that a lot today, that naps definitely are a massive link to your baby's sleep. So really understanding your baby's naps will really help that nighttime sleep.
Yep. And I think to me that's the thing that I've really learned, is the fact that it's the naps that's the most important, because the naps inform how the nighttime sleep is going to be. So that's something that I've really learned without realizing. other than just shoving my babies to bed and to say, go to sleep during the day. I needed to go and do something. But yeah. And I suppose the other thing is, you know, we're talking about going away, and that, you know, getting them used, if they're going to sleep with their grandparents or other or similar sort of people, is that they have their routine there. If you establish that they know straight away, this is what I do when I'm in this environment, is really, really helpful, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. I find a lot of my clients, when their babies go to the grandparents, they sleep a lot better at the grandparents than they do at home. So
yeah, I mean, I
think that, you know, babies learn and children learn. They know, they, as you said, they're smart. They know when they're at, you know, at somewhere different, you know, and at home they know they probably, you know, can push the boundaries a little bit, especially the older children.
That's exactly what I was going to say, because you just don't realise actually that they learn so quickly about, and they're really clever. You know, even if they can't talk to you, they know exactly what is going on and how to pull your chain, for want of a better word. So yeah. I mean, Lisa, that was really, really insightful. And I'm sure that, you know, the take homes for lots of people is don't worry, it will all be fine, but get a routine, be respectful of baby's sleep. They do need sleep. They don't need to have the sort of 8 or 9 hours that we have. They need to have loads more sleep to support their development. And also, you know, to save your own, as a parent, your own mind when you need to have a break from babies, because I think it's important to recognise that as well. That gives you the break to go and sort out various things that you need to when caring for children. And then the nap side's really important. So thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for having me,
and thank you to Child's Farm as well. And thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.